Hello again, and welcome to High Ground Financial Freedom Advanced Training. So here's the thing. If you have not taken the 16-week course, I highly recommend you go through it. That way you can get the most out of this. Okay, you're putting your time in, get the most out of it. So today we're going to be talking about safety nets for your family. Building financial safety net is essential for achieving your peace of mind and security. Let me say that again. Peace of mind and security. Knowing that you have an emergency fund set up, it does something to your brain. Okay, it's not about opportunity, cost, or putting money somewhere and losing money. It changes the way you think. It's like having insurance. When you have insurance and you know that you're protected, it's going to change the way your mind thinks. And by the time you're done with this class today, you'll have a full understanding of an emergency fund and how to effectively save. This is all about creating a buffer which will allow you greater financial freedom and hitting those goals that you set. Yes, we're going to be setting financial goals. So let's get right in. So the agenda for today, we're going to talk about the why, understanding financial safety nets, steps to building that fund, effective saving techniques, and maintaining and growing your emergency fund. Here's the thing. I'm not going to read from the slides, okay? And I didn't even put everything in the agenda because I don't want to overwhelm you. I do have multiple screens in front of me, so if you see me looking around, understand that I'm looking to make sure this recording is going correctly. Excuse me, and then the slides over here, all right? I'm not going to re-record this. I want you to get this raw. I want to make sure that you have a full understanding, because if I go back over it, then I'm probably going to edit something out. If it's raw right now, you're getting some good data. Okay, so let's talk about peace of mind and understanding the why we save. If we understand the fundamentals, we understand that it's going to, again, give you this peace of mind. That is the first and foremost thing that we're trying to get here, having peace of mind. It helps in reducing stress and anxiety related to financial uncertainties. It's going to enable you to achieve personal goals, whether it's buying a home, starting a business. You open your mind to something new, maybe different opportunities for investments or a career change. You know, a lot of times people find themselves stuck in a situation that they don't want to be in. Having some savings can help you get out of that real quick. You may hate your job. Well, here's the thing, an emergency fund, that's going to prepare you for your life's unexpected challenges. Unfortunately, with 32 years of service, I've seen so much drama and so many horrible things happen to people. And if I can go back in time and educate the people I serve with, I would. But unfortunately, a lot of them are not here. And I kind of feel like if I had this knowledge and was able to share it, it would have saved some people. I can't help with every problem, but money is definitely the place I can help you, feel a little bit more secure. So we're going to talk about these safety nets. The financial safety net, okay? Like if a person's on a tightrope, they're going to have a safety net if they're smart. If they're swinging on the trapeze, again, they're going to have a safety net if they're smart. Think of it this way. It's your personal backup plan, just in case fund. This is essentially a collection of resources you got stashed away to help you out when things get a little shaky financially. So you might be asking, what kind of shaky? What could that be? Talking about like the unexpected stuff, like losing your job, getting hit with a surprising medical bill, fixing your car unexpectedly. You know, having that dedicated pot of money set aside for these kinds of emergencies is super important. It lets you handle those curveball life throws at you without completely messing up your overall financial health. When you're putting this money away, you don't want to mess with your other pots of money. You want to keep that safe. It's about staying steady and resilient when the unexpected happens. And here's the thing, nothing may never happen. And that's okay. But having this money set aside in an emergency fund is essential. Don't think, well, nothing happened, I don't need it. Because what if it does happen right when you need it? So let's talk about these components of a financial safety net. There's different pieces I want to take a look at. First off, you got the savings account. That's the total foundation. Okay, that's just the beginning. Think of it as a starting point for building up that financial cushion. Now, when we got the emergency fund, these are the critical and crucial parts because it's immediate cash that you can get to, immediate money. Next, we have the insurance policies. These are your big protection, against huge financial hits. And the kind of policies that I do, if you went through the 16-week course, you understand there's money that's also growing while it's sitting inside your policy. It's not just a policy sitting over there doing nothing. And those are for the major things that can potentially happen. And while we're talking about managing money, we want to have access to credit. That can be helpful for managing those day-to-day cash flow issues. And then having some cash on hand. I'm not talking about no 10, 15, $20,000 sitting around waiting for somebody to come take it. About $1,000. You got some big bills in there, you got some small bills, even some ones, okay? Some fives and tens. And again, this is something that's immediate liquidity that you can get to right away. So each of these 5 elements plays a vital role in keeping your overall financial picture stable. They all work together to give you that peace of mind and can really make sure that what you're after is peace. Okay. So, what are some of the common misconceptions when we're talking about emergency funds and savings? Okay, so a big one I hear often is emergency funds are only for those people who lose their job. It's not so. And that's not true. While, yes, they're absolutely crucial if you lose your income, but that's just one scenario. The truth is, emergency funds are super important for everyone. They offer a safety net that boosts your financial stability in all sorts of different situations. Think about it like this: sudden car repair, that medical bill. I mean, with the things the way they're going right now in our economy, you never know what's going to happen. I know a lot of my brothers and sisters have, VA. What about the ones that don't have VA? Okay, that have to pay those huge deductibles or those huge monthly premiums. A home repair that pops up, even if you have homeowners insurance, if you have a home, okay, guess what? You have a deductible. For us, even with USAA, my deductible for the roof, anything happen with the roof, is $4,000. So in order to get the roof fixed, I still have to come up with $4,000 just to get the roof fixed. Okay, even for my vehicle, it's $1,000. So yes, there's insurance, but that deductible is going to have to be paid from somewhere. So it's really important for us to clarify that actually counts, and excuse me, what counts as an emergency fund and what can be used versus what doesn't count. I want to make sure these funds are used correctly and effectively, not just impulse buys. For me, Amazon is a big one. Okay. I have to fight to stay away from Amazon. We're going to be using this money for things that are planned for. Okay. If there's an emergency, again, job loss, medical bill, something major with the car. Having that clear understanding helps us use the emergency fund wisely and effectively. It's not just money sitting there. It's a strategic resource to keep you financially afloat when the unexpected happens. And God forbid, but again, things do happen. So let's talk about these steps to building that emergency fund. How we're going to get it done. So the first step, and this is super important, so make sure you're listening to this one. Dig into your monthly expenses. If you went through the last class, you already know about budgeting and you already know about the baseline and figuring out exactly what your monthly expenses are. You need to know exactly how much you spend each month. This means looking at everything again: the rent, the mortgage, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, all of it. I went super deep. And if you did not look at that class, go back and look at the one about the budgeting and it will make sense. Once you know your basic living expenses and how much that's going to cost you, then we can set those realistic goals. Can't come in and just say, okay, I want X amount for X amount of months unless you have it laid down. You need to know those basic living expenses to set some realistic goals. A good rule of thumb, and what most financial pros recommend is to aim for that 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses. If you can hit that, you've got a really solid foundation for your financial security. It gives you that breathing room and confidence to handle whatever financial curveballs come your way without that added stress. It's truly, again, about peace of mind. I know you're going to keep hearing me say peace of mind, peace of mind, peace of mind, but that's what we're essentially after, is that peace of mind. So now let's get into strategies to start the savings. And what strategy we're going to use? If you've been listening to me, at this point, my favorite cardinal numbers are 50, 30, and 20. And we're going to talk about that 50, 30, 20 budgeting rule again. Okay. It's pretty straightforward. The idea here: take that income and split it into 3 main buckets. 50% for your needs. This is the big one. I'm going to go over it again. Covering all your essentials, things you actually have to pay for to live. Think about that rent, mortgage, groceries, utilities, transportation, the minimum debt that you have to pay, your insurance. These are your non-negotiables. And then we're going to hit those wants. That 30% is going to go to your wants. This is where the fun comes in. These are the things you choose to spend your money on that aren't strictly necessary for survival. That's the dining out, the Hulu, Netflix, Disney, new clothes, okay? You know, of course, the things beyond what you need, just some new stuff. Your hobbies, your vacation, that all goes under that 30%. It's all about enjoying life without going overboard. And then finally, we're going to take that last 20%. That's going to go to your savings. And this is the magic bucket. This 20% goes directly towards building your financial future. It's not about having, you know, fun. It's about being disciplined. Okay, you already took care of self with that 30%. You already had your fun. It's 20%. It's time to be disciplined. This includes beefing up that emergency fund. The good thing here is once you get that emergency fund set, now that 20% can potentially go some other places, but right now let's focus on beefing up that emergency fund. So by using that 50-30-20 approach, you're essentially creating a really balanced money plan and make sure your essential needs are covered. You still have some room to enjoy life and you're consistently putting money away for your future. Sticking to this can seriously boost your ability to build that emergency fund and hit those bigger, long-term financial goals. Now it's time to give it a shot. You got this. You've already looked at last class. You're already seeing how to budget. You already spent 30 days setting that baseline. You know how much money you can put here. Let's get after it. All right, now take a deep breath. Now, that's a lot of information. So now we're going to think about once you have that emergency fund, where are we going to keep that emergency fund? Okay, because again, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of information. You got insurance papers in there. Okay, keeping your emergency fund separate from your savings account. I know it'll be easy to keep it inside the savings account, and you say, okay, you know what? I got paid $8,000, but I got $20,000 already sitting here, so I got 28 grand. And I know you could say to yourself, I'm gonna keep it separate. This is like a business account. You would never keep your savings account and a business savings account together. So don't do this with your emergency fund. You need to treat this like a living, breathing entity. Keep it separate. Do not leave it mingling with your personal accounts. I know someone thinking, why not? Because if you want it to be readily available when you need it, but you want it to be out of sight, because out of sight is out of mind. We're humans. Okay. And I'm not talking about myself, but I am talking about myself because if I see it, my brain is going to tell me, let me do something with it. Let me go make it grow somewhere else. Don't just keep money being stagnant. Okay. You have to protect yourself against yourself. You don't want to spend this money on non-emergencies. Now, within a savings account, okay, you want to think about where can you put it? What different parts of savings account world? Well, you got the high yield savings account, okay? These are a great place to put it. They're super effective, super easy access. They're significantly better interest rates than the typical brick and mortar banks give you. So while your money's still sitting there, they are still waiting for an emergency just in case, and they're also earning a little extra cash. Okay, think of it as your money working overtime when you're not using it. And then you also have money market accounts. These also offer flexibility and often decent rates. They can sometimes come with check writing privileges, which might be convenient for certain emergencies, though less common than a pure emergency fund. And what you definitely want to avoid is keeping your emergency fund in the same place and at the same level of security with your personal stuff. Okay. Don't keep it all in your checking account. You need to create a completely separate account. Okay. Your everyday spending, keep it over here. Emergency, keep it over here. I think that's 3 or 4 times I've hit that. I have to stress that point. You want to keep it separate. And generally, don't put it into investments like the stock market. For me, I know if I see 20 grand and I hear on the news that this stock is doing this or this video card is doing this or the cannabis over here, my brain is automatically going to think, oh, I can take this and do this with it and yield X, Y, and Z. That is not what it's for. You need your emergency fund to be safe and also predictable. You can't risk dropping it in, somewhere and it's going to lose some value. And then you got to start all over. Then you got to take more money out of that 20%. Okay. So the takeaway here is separate, easily accessible accounts, and then earning some interest at the same time. So now we're going to talk about effective saving techniques. So we're going to keep this thing moving. I want to talk to you about something super important that I think we can all benefit from, especially when it comes to our money. So here's a question I want you to ask yourself. Should we budget or should we save? Ask yourself that. Should we budget money or should we save it? Budgeting meaning putting it somewhere, using it, or should we save it? We're going to do both. Seriously, this isn't about being super strict or boring. It's more like giving ourselves a roadmap for our cash. When we actually sit down and create a budget, we're basically just seeing where our money is coming from and, more importantly, where it's going. And here's the kicker. Once you see that laid out, it becomes so much easier to spot those little or big places where we can stash some extra cash and keep it for our savings. Now, again, you do have the infinite banking or the Your Bank. That is a simple place to put your money, because if you leaving it there, putting your emergency fund in that, you're not investing it. It's in an insurance policy and it's growing cash value. That is another place you can put it. But think of it like this: by looking at our budget, okay, we can look at the areas of spending and where we can also dial back. Every little bit we cut back on can go straight into our savings. Trust me, it can really add up very quickly. And one of the most important things here, a huge game changer I want you to think about, making sure we're putting a specific amount to our emergency fund every single month. If you stick to that same amount, and tell yourself, you know what, this is not something that's nice to have. This is a must have. And I'm building something that, okay, yeah, you can put a price on. I'm building some peace of mind here. Okay, especially if you're the leader of the family. And if you're a husband or a wife or a man or a woman, and it's just you, you're still the leader of the family. You're still the leader of your family, you. So that emergency fund is our safety net, and consistently adding to it is the key to feeling secure and stable with our money. So yeah, budgeting for savings, super critical, 100% doable, and definitely worth it. Again, take a deep breath. Okay, I know it's a lot of information, but the good thing is you get a chance to pause these videos whenever you want. So now we're going to talk about setting some goals. This is another super important piece of this puzzle, setting our savings goals. And I know when you hear the word goals, it sounds a bit formal, but really it's just about figuring out what we want our money to do for us. It's your money. You need to make it work for you, not the other way around. This is another non-negotiable. So we've got a couple of types of goals. Okay, we're going to talk about our short-term ones first. The short-term ones, you may be thinking about a new laptop that's been calling your name, or hanging with your family over a weekend trip. Now, wouldn't you agree that these are the things we usually save up for with a couple of months or even a year? So you can easily do that. Now let's look at our long-term goals. And these are the big ones. Think about saving up for a down payment on a house. That's a huge one. Or looking down the road, saving for retirement. Now, depending on how old you are, it might seem far off, but honestly, you have to think about it this way. Retirement is going to be 1/3 of your life, and you need to get it right the first time. The sooner we start thinking about it, the better off you're going to be. Don't be thinking, okay, I'm in my 20s, I'm in my 30s, and I got time. No. If you think you're going to live to 40, if you think you're going to live to 80 and you're 40 years old, you're already halfway there. So you really want to start thinking about retirement planning as soon as possible. The cool thing about actually defining these goals, whether they're big or small, is that it gives us a clear path instead of just doing it because we should. We're saving for something. It makes the whole process so much easier and focused. And honestly, this keeps us motivated when we know exactly what we're doing and what we're working towards. It's like having a treasure map for your own money. All right, let's keep moving. So I know this is one a lot of people don't like talking about. I don't like it either, but it is what it is. We're going to talk about cutting some expenses. We're going to keep this thing going. So now that we've talked about setting goals, let's dive in how we can actually find some of that extra cash. I know people are going to say, well, I don't have any extra cash. Well, let's just discuss it anyway. This next tip is super practical and it can make a big difference in cutting unnecessary expenses. It may hurt in the beginning, but you'll appreciate the outcome. Seriously, think about it like this, depriving ourselves. Okay, is it really depriving ourselves? Not really, because if we live in a first world country and we're already taking this class, we're not really being deprived. We're thinking about change it up. We're thinking about being smart now. Let's be smart with our money. It's not about deprivation, it's about being smart. The best way to start is to look at your budget. Remember, we talked about that budget, budget, budget. And this gives you that pinpoint accuracy on where your money is going. If you focus on the essentials, especially after you've paid yourself that 30%, you'd be surprised how much we spend on things that, really don't matter and places that we can cut back. For me and my wife, we're foodies. We love to eat and we live in El Paso, Texas. That's a bad combination. Good food, amazing people that treat you fair, real bad combination, because then you want to sit down, enjoy, eat, get big, and you want to go out multiple times. But you can be vigilant. Cut back on that. Budget on that. Maybe cutting back on, instead of going out 4 or 5 times a week, eating 2 meals a week out, or maybe even just going to one. Okay, this can add up to some serious cash. Or another big one for many of us, how many unused subscriptions do we have floating around? That gym membership, just so we can say, hey, I got a gym membership, okay, and we never use it. Or again, those streaming services you signed up for, Netflix, Hulu, Disney, those all add up. Canceling those is literally like putting money back into your pocket. And guess what? All those funds we free up can go straight into that emergency fund. The beautiful thing about that emergency fund, once you have the emergency fund set up, you don't have to worry about it. It's good to go. You can put that money some other use or towards some awesome saving goals we just talked about. Again, you may want a new laptop later on. You may want a vacation. So now once the emergency fund is set, that extra money can go into savings and you can just keep saving. So taking these proactive steps to manage our expenses really does lead to some significant savings over time. It's like finding hidden money in your own budget. I just thought about that. Yeah, so if I'm putting it here, I'm finding money, and this is in my own budget that's already sitting there, and I need to look at mine as well. So we're going to make this very simple, because in today's world, when we're talking about technology, why don't we use it? Let's automate the savings. This is like autopilot. Instead of having to remember to move money from your savings account or from your checking account every month, you just set it up and forget it. Your checking and savings account is tied to pretty much everything out there if you put it on it. Let me give you an example. Every day, payday, a little chunk at a time. Just move straight from your savings or your checking and you put it into one of these apps. And I'm not going to name any apps. I don't even know if that's legal for me to be talking about any of these companies. But there's a bunch out there that you can set up and they'll be glad to take your money. And some of these places offer some type of interest rate. This ties into what's called pay yourself first strategy. Remember that 50-30-20 rule? When we pay ourselves that 30% first, it means that as soon as you get paid, you prioritize your savings first. Now, yes, you're taking care of self, but you're not even going to see it because it's going to come out and go into those places. You can just check those statements monthly. Before you even start thinking about bills or spending, you're saving and paying into something that's going to be there just in case. Now, when you do that, you're much more likely to actually save because the money is already gone before you have a chance to spend it elsewhere. Now, this again, talking to myself. This does not take away that 50% rule. We are still prioritizing, okay? But again, saving effectively does not have to be hard. The best part about automating takes all the guesswork out and the mental effort out of saving. You just set it and forget it, and before you know it, you'll see your savings start to grow and grow and grow. Super effective and helps you keep track with no extra work. I'm all about simplifying things. We don't need to work harder. Let's work smarter. So now let's talk about some tips. I love tips, okay? We've talked a lot about individual pieces, but let's bring it all together on how to really boost your savings. It comes down to being proactive, basically taking charge of your money instead of it taking charge of you. First up, remember how we talked about creating that budget. That's the starting line. That's the flashlight that you're going to turn on. That's going to show you exactly where your money's going. A lot of times we want to stay in the dark and we don't want to look at it because, like, once I open it up and turn the light on, now I got to face it. But here's the thing, if you don't turn the light on and you got a whole bunch of stuff in there, you may have a bunch of bugs, cockroaches running around, and you're eating something, now you're eating the bugs. Turn the light on, click it on so you can actually see where your money is going. Track your expenses. This is going to help you see in real time where you can make those improvements. How are you going to track your spending? Use the app that you're on right now. Okay, ask yourself this: are we spending more on coffee than you thought? Tracking those expenses. Track every single thing. Don't make this difficult. Have fun with it. Gamify it. When you see yourself hitting those goals of tracking your data points, tell yourself, you know what? Did a good job this week tracking. So now I'm going to go out to eat. Budget it in. Take a look at it. Don't beat yourself up and overwork yourself. Make this fun. Okay, now let's talk about windfalls. Windfalls being your tax returns, or let's say a bonus. If you get a bonus or you have a huge tax return coming in, you can use that money and put that straight into your emergency fund. And then once your emergency fund is where it's supposed to be, throw some of that money into your savings. Okay, again, gamify, reward yourself, have fun with it. Create a board in your office where you are putting up little push pins when you're hitting your goals. And then you say, hey, the red one is for not doing too good, the green one is for doing real good, the yellow is for kind of doing good. Or flip flop it. Have fun with this. And finally, don't forget to regularly review your progress. Your financial life is not static. So checking in on your savings, adjusting your contributions as needed, ensures you're always going to be on track. It's all about staying engaged and making your money work for you. So maintaining and handling this, okay? How do we handle it? So let's talk about the payoff for all this emergency fund work, handling those unexpected financial curveballs. This is seriously the whole reason we even have an emergency fund. You know how life loves to throw surprises at us, right? Sudden car repair, back to that doctor. For us, we have a cat and we had to take our cat to go see a veterinarian. And some money came out of our expenses. So now I know I got to get some cat insurance. It could be even something bigger like a job loss, God forbid. But when those things happen, having their emergency fund means you're not running around scrambling and having to ask family, burning up credit cards, or going into debt. It's right there giving you that financial security exactly when you need it most. You cannot put a price on having that peace of mind. I mean, I guess you can put a price on it if you know your budget, okay? But peace of mind, it just frees up so many things, and your emotions you can keep in check. Now, if you do have to use it, which is totally fine, that's what it's there for. But if you do have to use it, the super important next thing that you want to do is replenish it. Use it, but put it back. Think your emergency fund as gas going in the car. You use it, you need to put it back, or you're not going to get to where you're trying to get to. Okay? Getting it back to your budget, getting it back to that target amount ensures you're still protected just in case. You never know when an emergency is going to come up. Do not assume that I got my emergency fund, I had my emergency happen, I used my fund, now I'm good for a little bit. No, you're not. You want to keep that same peace of mind going that you had before. So replenish your fund. So using it wisely when a true emergency hits and then making a plan to build it back up, that's going to help you keep that financial safety net strong without unnecessarily depleting it. If you think in your mind that, well, I use it real quick, I can set it back up and then use it again for something else, lock it up, keep it safe. It's all about being smart and staying prepared. Not doomsday prepper prepared, but close to it when it comes to your money. So let's talk about that surplus funds. So once you got that emergency fund looking solid and you're hitting your target, maybe even exceeding it, what's next? Well, this is where you get to have some exciting fun. We're going to invest that surplus fund, okay? And then we can talk about that in another class, what type of investing. But if your emergency fund is looking plump and you got more than you need for those unexpected uh-oh moments, letting that extra cash just sit there isn't doing much for you. In my 16-week course, like I told you before, I talked about putting that money into those policies, creating those banks. That is a great place to put that money because it's going to grow tax free. And you can look at some investments. One thing I talk about in my hot topics, I talk about cryptocurrency. Take a look at that. I also talk about if I had $100,000, go take a look at that paper about where you can potentially put your money. Or give me a call and we can talk about where you may want to put your money. The idea here, though, be low risk. Okay. Be low risk because you may have to use your emergency fund. You may use your savings at one of those short term or long term goals. So you want to keep this low risk because if you do use your savings, you do use your emergency funds, you want to be able to replenish those quick. So with that surplus, some extra, be low risk. Go back to those 5 L's and 2 C's. You're going to put that money somewhere, put it somewhere that is low risk. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with the 5 L's and 2 C's, you definitely need to go back and relook at that 16-week course. These types of investments that are low risk let your money grow steadily without putting your security or accessibility at risk. You want to make sure you still can get to that money just in case of a real emergency. Okay, it may or may not happen. Again, having access to your bank, that's a good one. I don't push it because it's something that I do. I push it because that's where a majority of our funds are. And when I say do, I'm talking about putting them together. Yes, I personally do it. Yes, I build them. But I don't talk about it because I do it. I talk about it because it's a great place to do it, if that makes sense. Okay, so these type of investments will help your money grow. Keep it safe, keep it accessible, and keep it liquid. It's like giving your money a job instead of just letting it chill and sit there. So now, the one thing I'm not key on doing all the time because I'm taking care of so many other moving pieces is reviewing. You want to regularly review and adjust your fund. Like I said before, this is a living, breathing document. All right, so think of it like this. Your emergency fund isn't set and forget it, right? Our lives change. So you may get a new job or your living expenses may go up. One thing is going to definitely happen. Inflation is going to go up. So your $20,000 emergency fund that you started out with 5 years ago, that's not $20,000 today. You're going to need to make some adjustments. Okay. And it is your responsibility to do it. You may even get some new responsibilities on your job. You may have the same job. Again, whatever it is, whatever is this emergency fund covered before, it's not going to be the exact same 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. So you have to ask yourself this: is it still enough to cover my essential expenses for X, Y, and Z? If not, change it. And you want to constantly do a thorough review to make sure you're doing the right thing and you have the right amount of money there. So by doing these quick check-ins and making any unnecessary adjustments to your savings goals, you're basically keeping your financial security up to date. It means you'll be able to be prepared for whatever curveball comes your way. So now let's get to the conclusion. And I want you to think about everything we've talked about and take it in. Let's take another deep breath here because it's a lot of information. One more, 4 in, 8 out. So you made it to the end. We're going to wrap all of this up and let me just hit some main key points. The biggest takeaway from today, I really want to stress this. When you're doing this emergency fund and you have some saving, it's about giving yourself peace of mind. It's not a nice to have, it's an essential. This fund is your personal safety net. because life is going to throw some curveballs your way. You may have some car trouble. You may have some medical bill. You may have something that's unexpected. Whatever it might be, knowing that there's money there is going to give you a peace of mind that I can't even really. It's a good thing, and it is priceless. Even though I say yeah, you can put a price on it, it is priceless being able to have that. It's a blessing knowing that that money is there just in case. So to recap, let's talk about the real important stuff. Remember to keep the emergency fund liquid and safe. You want to be able to access it easily when you need it. You don't want nobody messing around with it, and you don't want it to put that money or the surplus into anything risky if you have a surplus. Setting those clear saving goals is key, whether it's a new laptop or a house down payment. Knowing what you're saving for keeps you motivated. And my personal favorite tip, automate the savings. Okay, set it and forget it. Walk away from it. A couple of months, you're gonna have so much money. You're like, man, where did this money come from? I need to do something with it. By putting these effective saving strategies into practice, you're not just preparing for the unexpected. You're actually building wealth. You're teaching your family to build wealth, and you're setting yourself up for something bigger, which is having that beautiful financial roadmap that you get to walk down each and every day. So, I like to give action steps. So, here's your action step class for you. Figure out what your emergency fund should be. Remember, we talked about 3 to 6 months of essential expenses, okay? 3 to 6 months, hopefully 6. And then set up those automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings account. Not the same personal savings, but your emergency fund savings. Remember, a separate separate savings account is going to save you. Taking that step will seriously boost your financial stability. So thank you so much for being engaged. I know I hit you with a lot of redundant things, but I wanted to drive it home, and I noticed a lot of information. So take one more of those 4 in, 8 out breaths, about 3 more of those, and I hope you have a great day. God bless. Thank you for trusting High Ground Financial Freedom.